Hello, everyone. It's Manifestation Monday, and we're here with that's going to change soon because we're going to be reading a different book, but it will be a manifestation book, I think.
Oh, nice.
But we're
Wait,
here. What is it?
are you going to tell people what it's going to be, or do we not know yet?
No, we know. We know.
Yeah.
It is Dr. Wayne Dyer, Real Magic, Creating Miracles in Everyday Life.
All right, right on.
If you guys consent to reading this book.
Yeah.
I know of him. Yeah.
You love him?
I know of him.
Oh, you know of him.
I think I read a book of his, but I don't remember which one.
I've never read his stuff. I don't know.
No, me neither, though. I was in a used bookstore and saw one of his books, but it was not that one, so I didn't get it.
Oh, okay. Well, I can buy you guys the books and send them to you in the mail.
Oh, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Okay.
What is the name of it? Let me see if the library has it, because I'm sure they.
Real magic, creating miracles in everyday life.
All right, cool. Yeah, because we've been on our manifestation lab
Yeah,
uh doing one chapter a week, and we've only got one, two, maybe three chapters left.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
All
we're
right.
almost done with this book. I'm so glad we read this book together. I really am.
Yes, me too. You know, I was chatting with Chat GPT today about whether or not this title was offensive and what percent of people it would be like what kind of humor you call this, entitling your book, Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting, and what kind of response you're trying to evoke. And according to however as I asked the question and whatever they were trained on, uh, 60 to 70% of people would feel interested and motivated intrigued by such a question. And maybe 20 to 30% would feel neutral or slightly negative towards it, but be like, whatever. And then 10 to 20% would be turned off by the snarkiness of this title.
Oh, good use of Chat
That's,
GPT. Like you don't have
yeah.
to call one person for that question. You want to call Chat GPT. That's a really good use.
So which of those people do we like?
Which
I,
is
I like the people who didn't get offended because it's like, come on, really?
Yeah, you're gonna let that offend you? I kind of
Yeah,
like this.
yeah, like
yeah. Yeah, I'm the person that you don't like. That just it's confusing to me when people phrase things in ways or actually what it is I myself am not motivated by uh something a challenge like that.
hmm. I never thought to be offended by the title. I had no idea that would be offensive. I thought it's kind of like a get up and go title. Like, excuse me, our life is waiting. Let's go. Like I never even thought to be offended.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah. It's supposed
well,
to be playful.
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Okay, so today
I
we're
don't
on
think
the
I was, but it seems to me very East Coast. Like, hello,
yeah.
Hmm.
Chop chop, honk honk, keep driving.
the library doesn't seem to have um
Real magic.
real magic, but they do have something that's by Dyer that's uh, remained to us. I'll find it again.
I'm gonna see if Amazon has it used.
All right, well, why don't we do those logistics later and now let's talk
Yeah.
about the chapter.
Oh, look, you can get
Yeah.
it for 197 used on Amazon.
Oh, nice.
Okay, all right. So today we're on the chapter of living the body, dying the body, which is all about physical health and manifestation theory. Which now this chapter touched my heart because I grew up as well, my mom's a Christian Scientist and my dad's an astrophysicist. So it's like that's a weird math. You know, Christian scientists believe you can heal the body with the spirit, and then astrophysicists, I don't know what they think about health. They don't really go to the doctor much. But so I thought this was an interesting chapter from just how I grew up. of really being taught to heal the body through the spirit. Like I really resonated with her, but what she says is very controversial in this chapter. So do you have some questions, Jay-Z?
Well, when you're saying what she says is very controversial, I guess we can like dig into that a little. If what you're saying is what she says is like if you have an accident or fall ill, it's your fault.
Yeah, that's the part that was super confidential. She said if you get in a car accident, it's your fault. It's like, what do you call that? Is that it's not a non-purpose, it's an accident. Like you don't get in an accident on purpose.
But you have been attracting negativity towards you, so therefore it's your fault.
Yeah, that's bogus. Like, and like she also talked about someone dying and she said it was their fault. I'm like, well, people die eventually. Like life ceases to, just like
Yeah.
we're born, we die.
And she also points out that you don't, you have the power to reverse an illness. And she quotes Norman, she doesn't quote, she uses Norman Cousins as an example, who reversed his cancer. One example.
Yeah. Well, that is more gray area, and I do think that the power of the mind can reverse an illness or make it worse. Like it's like if you have cancer and you use mind control to like see things positively about your cancer and imagine it growing smaller and all these things, like you're gonna have a better prognosis than if you're just like cancer, 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 cancer. Like,
I, that's true. I agree. If you sit around and think, oh my God, I've got cancer, I've got cancer, I've got cancer, you're only, that's what you're throwing out there. I mean, in the other books that we're talking about, you keep throwing out that stuff. That's what's going to catch.
yeah. So what do you guys think the parameters of that are? Like, how much can our mind heal physical illnesses, and how much are we just because nature takes us out one day? That's the thing I don't necessarily agree with all manifestation theory around health and wellness is like we are supposed to die one day. Like, and that's between us and God. Like, just like we were born from something, like I think death is equally as magical as birth. Like,
Well, I think it's the difference between having a happy and healthy life until the moment that you reach the end versus having a, woeful, painful existence of suffering and, kind of dragging that out and then dying. So I guess what she's trying to do is to have you have a higher quality of life until such a time as you have to die.
I so agree with that. Like there's two attitudes towards like illness. One is like I'm ill and I have to stop doing everything until I get better and just like my life is over because I'm ill. Or it's just like, oh, I happen to be ill. All right, now I'm gonna make this video with my friends and now I'm gonna do this. And like the thing I was gonna do anyway, I'm gonna keep doing until the day that I stop, the one day of my life that I stop breathing.
Yeah.
Like people are too into the death day, like they
Yeah.
just like, how
Yeah.
do you feel about that? Because sometimes you do mention your age, Lumiere, like that. Like, how does age play into thinking of your death day? Like, do you notice as you
I don't
get
think of
older?
my death day. I mean, because I have young kids, I have a goal. I want them to be in their 20s at least when I go cash in my chips. So I don't think about it. I do think about aging, but and my knees are shot and my teeth are shot. So of course that's on my mind, but I don't let any of that stop me from doing what I want to do. I mean, I'm probably not hiking as much as I used to, and I haven't been on my bike in a while. But I have a friend who is the first female deaf Lutheran minister and she's got MS, and she's a little bit younger than me, but close to my age. She's working two churches. She's doing outreach. She works usually like a 20-hour day, and she has surgery on her feet constantly. She just goes in for the surgery and she goes back to work because her feet are all gnarled and she has to get the bones fused a lot. And so she's had numerous surgeries on her feet. It hasn't crept up, which is good, but She doesn't think about it. She goes to the doctor. They say, "Well, you need another surgery." And she does it, and she goes back to work.
Well, and I think where there it becomes down to living in what you can do and not what you can't do. Like, for example, if you had foot surgery and you're like, now I can't walk to my thing, it's like you're just noticing everything you can't do. But if you're like, oh, I can still answer my emails without my feet working,
Right.
I can still make this beaded ooh, look at these rainbow clowny beads.
Oh, that
I can
is.
still make my beaded rainbows or whatever. I can still send stuff in the mail. Like, so focusing on what you can do is one of the power moves during illness.
I think so too. I
What are you gonna
think.
say, Jesus?
Go ahead, JC.
Oh no, I was just remarking on the rainbow Pisces strings in the beads. That's nice. Pisces, Cancer, Cancer, you said?
Yeah, yeah, this is gonna be so good. I'm gonna do a bunch of rainbow beads on here too.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
yeah, stay in the circus till the day you die is what I say.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah, getting to what you guys were saying before, also it's like sh another thing she says in the book is careful of having the like precursor condition for whatever, because if you start like and her other point was that going to a doctor will tell you is like looking for problems to solve, looking for what's wrong. I don't actually feel that's my experience with doctors, but I don't go to them very often until they make me come in to see them because I haven't been for my annual for years and they threaten to stop prescribing my meds that I have to take. But I only see doctors for wellness visits, but I get what she's saying about if they think that you have to be careful because you look like you're about to break into this condition,
well,
then your mind could go there.
you're actually triggering me into a real controversial conversation, which I kind of want to have. I'm not trying to be like a medical terrorist or something, but like, okay, the only time I've been sick in the last 15 years is when I let the doctors make me sick. And what I mean by that is, let's say your car's running fine, and then you take it to the mechanic and you're like, all right, go ahead and look under my hood and find any problems. And they're like, oh, well, this is here. And then they start taking the thing apart and then the car doesn't work anymore. Like basically I was fine, and then I had to go in for my routine checkup, and then they're like, you have cervical precancer, at which case they like cut it off, and then I was like got this ravaging infection and had to have surgery and was in a bed for 40 days. Like I was fine before they took a look in there and then told me that I had precancer. So it's like I actually don't know what to think about that, because if I didn't have that precancer found, like maybe I would have ravaging cancer now, but maybe it's a conspiracy that this precancer, it keeps the medical institution alive with money. And like I mean, I don't know, like this is one of those controversial territories of like, should we have these preventative things that are actually creating illnesses, or should we just go on our lolly day and just pretend that we don't have anything with and it manifests health? It's like I don't want to be dumb and not go get my colonoscopy or not go get my pap smear. Like I'm not dumb. Like I'm not gonna deny thousands of years of science, but I'm also not going to let that get in the way of me enjoying life. What do you guys think of that? Like,
Well, I think you have to decide, in each case by case. I think that they only see something that they can throw solution at. And I've always thought that Eastern medicine is all about preventive. Western medicine is clean.
hmm,
So when you have cancer, go to Western medicine. They've got the machines. If you want to take care of yourself so you don't get cancer, you go to Eastern medicine. It's sort of been
Well,
my philosophy. But Western medicine wants to throw you a product, throw a product at it.
I guess I want to say that that hasn't completely been my experience that and like what she says in this book also is like they don't care about your diet. They don't say that they don't acknowledge that your diet is like causes illness or doesn't. And I, even in Western medicine, I don't think that's true.
Yeah, like she says, illness in any form is nothing more than our negative energies choking off our life flow. Those higher frequencies that our natural state is cellular damage results. It's like, I don't think my negative energies gave me cervical dysplasia. I think that was the pap smear. I mean, like I was doing fine with all these positive energies until I got this thing. It's like, I don't know. It's just it's like I don't understand how to rectify this positive manifestation with like preventative care that finds issues. Like, did I don't think I had any negative energy blockage of flow before I went in.
You didn't have an intuition of any kind that there's something that I need to get checked out. I feel weird, and there's no.
No, I was fine. You know, I go ahead, Jason.
Well, I was just gonna say that's the problem. There's no control group.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Touche. Like, how would we know? Because like we would have to we don't really know. I mean, but I do know that like what we can do with body, mind, and spirit is like let people get their preventative stuff done because that's the smart scientific based way that we know and keep them in positive spirits no matter what happens. Like if you get diagnosed with cancer, then we go philosophical, like body, mind, spirit, and be like, you got this. Like you're flowing, keep your valves open, keep your chakras flowing. Don't let the cancer take you down. It's like maybe it's a marriage of the two that is like the best solution.
Well, yeah, and I think you have to take control. I hate to be personal, but I had a gallbladder issue, and I talked to three surgeons. The first two wanted to rip it out. That's what we do. Take it out. Take it out. We take it out. And I said, I I know what happens after you get your gallbladder out. You have a very close relationship with the plumbing. So I didn't want that. So I kept going to surgeons, and at some point, I found somebody that said, "Oh, well, we don't have to do that. This is all at Kaiser. We don't have to do that. We'll do this. We'll open the opening. We'll get the stones out. Everything. Just you have to change your diet. You have to eat differently." So I did that, and I still have. This is 10 years ago. I still have my gallbladder.
Wow.
So the Western medicine came in and said, "Blah blah. We'll just slice and dice." And I said, "No, I'm not ready for that." So I kept going, and I have to tell you that they were angry. The first surgeon, especially, was like, "You just take it out." And she wasn't willing to listen to any other option. But so I think if you go and they diagnose you with something, Andy, then you have to say, "How do I want to do this? What am I know what they want to do. How do I want to do
Mm.
it?" I think that's probably true. Probably die of gallbladder cancer next week. But I'm
No,
joking.
no, that's actually a really good point because it comes down to like the serenity prayer of like God and ancient Stoic philosophers who would say that we're supposed to handle everything we can control and let go of everything we can't control and say like not judge it, right? So if we get a diagnosis of gallbladder issue, we can say like I can't control that I've been diagnosed with this gallbladder issue. I can't control, but I can control my diet and I can control this. And so you did that, and because of you taking charge of what you can control, the situation turned out for the best that it could.
Yeah.
Well, this kind of gets back to like business philosophy and risk management and one-way door decisions, right? So the risk management is just like when it's like so risky to not make a choice or that you have to make a choice and take some kind of action, then you do that. But you try to postpone one-way door decisions until the last responsible moment. So if
Amazing.
your gallbladder like really fired up, you probably would have decided like, okay, let's go in and do this irreversible surgery. But because it hadn't gotten to that point, you're buying
No,
yourself like time and options.
no, but it did. It did. It was wonky, and I was completely yellow like a banana. And I passed Heather White in the parking lot, and she said, "Go to the hospital."
Hmm.
So um, she kind of saved me, but
Hmm.
it was crazy. I was in bad shape when I went, but I didn't feel anything. I also have hypertension, which is something you don't feel either.
Hmm.
And you can I can sort of know when it's getting bad, but I had to tune myself to that. So I think this um her trying to say that there's a vibrational thing that you can get into or not get into really important because you have to tune yourself, I think, to what your vibrations are. Is it negative? Is it But the gallbladder was bad. And then I went to Kaiser and I walked in the door and took a number and they said, no, 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 come here.
Wow.
So,
Well, I love what you're saying, Jay-Z, is that it becomes down to risk management and one like the one way door decision is a really great point that we shouldn't just gloss over. Is like once you get your gallbladder out, you can't put it back in.
right,
Right? Like once you let someone cut you up, like like my grandma had breast cancer and she was a Christian Scientist and she wouldn't let them cut her up and she lived for 10 more years with her breast cancer, a happy, happy life. And like who knows if they would have started cutting her up if she would have died earlier. You know what I'm saying? Because
right.
of the surgeries, right? So it's
With
like,
the chemo.
yeah, yeah. Um, but I do think like the hypertension example is a good one where having a good positive mental attitude could help you because but we want to do all the things that we can do that are in our control, like taking the blood pressure medicine because hypertension is
Right.
high blood pressure, right?
Yeah.
Like, so taking your pressure medication every day is something you can control, and it's really not that big of a deal to do that.
Nope.
But then also reading the book on, natural remedies for high blood pressure and like studying what diet is good for high blood pressure. It's like those are all things you can control, and then you maintain like open flow while you have hypertension and just live life. Like, if you've done everything you can do, then you can relax.
You, yeah, you have to decide that it's not going to get in the way of your life. And maybe that's what she's talking about. She says that whatever the physical problem may be, it's nothing more than the result of vibrational abuse to the body, which is sounds blaming to me.
Yeah, so I'm reading this other book too, and so I'm reading them both today, so I might be conflating things I read in a different book with this book. But the other book was talking about how like such a high percent, like I'll just say 70%, might or might not be actually that number, of like diseases that you go to the doctor for, the root cause is really stress. It's like stress and then the cortisol that your body keys up your body, and then I forget the name of the chemical that your body creates to combat that. And
Cortisol?
no, there's some other thing that your body makes to combat the cortisol. I
Oh, okay.
can't. Anyway, but it does seem like maybe we need to kind of segregate things into different classes of problem. And a big chunk we can acknowledge, though, is caused by stress. And maybe those are the kinds of things that positive thinking can help. And then way over on the other side of the spectrum is blaming somebody for getting in an accident because they were attracting negative energy.
Yeah.
And then there's like some other areas in the middle.
Well, it's so interesting because she says there's a guy who had cancer and then he from his hospital bed he only watched funny movies, read funny books, had friends tell him jokes and cured himself completely of the cancer with having a like comic relief. We were just talking about Hyoka clowns before we got on air, and it's like Hyoka clowns do this. They like heal malaise with comedy and like falling over like in the circus. You're watching the high rope and you're all getting like tense, and then all of a sudden the clowns come out, and then everyone's like relaxed again. And it's like like comedy and clowning and things that make the soul relax, let the chakras open, and then the flow goes again, and like. But I mean, I would say that from an astrologer's perspective, the source of illness is a lot of times in that natal formation and the stress caused by aspects. And it comes in cyclically on transits. Like we get, we have this natal thing that a transit comes in and it messes with our dermatomes. And but that does feel like stress. That's how we call that, but I think but that's what remediation is about, is like dancing people through these stressful moments, you know what I mean? Like where we don't we don't let them just have the stress, we like remediate and get through it like a symphony, right? Like, but yeah, I think dancing through all the hard moments is definitely a health bringer.
Does that mean that when you're having those symptoms in the transit, that there's not much you could do about it? You just have to find a way to dance through it, but it's there.
Well, so dermatologically, it's there. Like the body has these electromagnetic swaths of skin called dermatomes, and the chart comes in for what we believe is through dermatomes. So it's like the planets will electromagnetically affect you, and also like people in their Saturn spots in their spine are really tight, like fascially, their connective tissue is really tight, and so we actually go in there and brutally manipulate their fascia to open it up. Like if somebody's having a chronic health issue, we'll actually have fascial repair people go in and actually break up their fascia. We don't necessarily just let them have the chart stress. We will break up the chart problem, but that's Eastern medicine. It's not Western med. Like, you know what I mean? That's
Right.
compatible with Western medicine, but also yeah. But some charts, if it's affecting you emotionally, then we kind of have to dance through it emotionally. But yeah, we do physical remedies all the time.
Hmm.
So it's a bull. We don't just say like, oh, your chart is your chart, and like, oh, you're just laugh through it. Like we actually would fix the problem structurally as well. That's what I would do. I don't know what other astrologers would do.
Well, that's good.
Well, I think
Okay.
there's like an acknowledging that that energy exists and then giving it an outlet, whether it's appropriate to give it a physical, emotional, spiritual, whatever kind of outlet, right?
Well, yeah, I just don't agree with her that every illness is some psycho is in psychosomatic, like that everything is caused by your energy flow. Like I believe that the chart we inhabit illness from our chart, and that's structural in our psychic makeup, and it's not our fault if we have a hard transit. Like I don't think it's because you were thinking incorrectly. It's like sometimes hard transits come in on you, and that's not, but we can dance through them. We know how to remedy those energies as the transit comes in. We don't just let the person sit there in the bad energy. But I just disagree with her that you can always think your way out of everything. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Jay-Z? You're an astrologer.
Well, I think it's just like you have causality one step back from what she's expressing in the book. Like you're saying that astrologically, because of transits and because of your chart, your astro schematic, uh, you tend to have these certain thoughts or certain energies or whatever, and then she starts at it from there.
Yeah, oh,
But I think
totally.
both you and she say the next step is don't fester in the negative thought patterns, but instead maybe I think with like in your book, Astral Remediation, you give like a whole bunch of different ways that you can provide different kinds of outlets on different kinds of levels. For her, she's pretty much saying, I don't know, figure something out,
Yeah.
but doesn't give such a structured way of saying, what's this energy that I'm feeling and how can I redirect it?
She's like offering a remedy to when you're in a bad mood. Like, what do you do? But like we astrologers know that we cyclically get into bad moods, and we're like, I don't know. We're not like just like Pollyanna is like, oh, you can talk yourself. Like we can see the future, and it's holding space in a very stressful mental way. If before you get used to the fact that, hard, good. Like, I don't know. It doesn't stress me out to know that I might have a headache next week, but that I've been an astrologer for 25 years, so you know.
So,
You,
well, let's talk a little bit about her technique then, or like one of her techniques. So, what she says is like, you do this thing called what if, where you say like, well, what if? What would I do if? I was healthy? What would I do if I was strikingly good looking? How would I play if I was frisky and frolicsome? And then you use that exercise to get to the root feeling of how would you feel if you were acting young and healthy and frisky and frolicsome, right? Are
Okay,
you
well, I have
guys?
something to say about this. Which is like this is one of the ways we heal people spiritually is to make them want to live. Like a lot of times people won't do all the things like Lumiere was talking about. They won't take their blood pressure medicine and they won't eat healthy because they don't want to live. They don't give a rat if they're gonna live or die. So I think getting people into that idea of like what makes you want to live, what makes you want to eat healthy, what makes you, what would make you happy. And that is kind of like once they can vision that, then they do all the things.
I think so too. I think sometimes people at their most subterranean expect it to be bad. They expect it to have emphysema. They expect it to slow down. They expect death to be coming in slow steps over a period of time. And so, if they put you on oxygen and you're in a wheelchair, they think, oh, that's normal. Almost.
Hmm.
Where if you say to yourself from her point of view or our point of view, no, me doing well until I cash in my chips is normal,
That's the ticket.
then you do that.
Yeah.
I think the trick is with this and the other manifestation books we've read, you have to really believe it though. So, like we were saying before, you don't think, boy, I really wish I had $3 million for a house. You picture yourself in the house walking up the stairs, and then that helps with the manifestation.
Well,
Yeah, you have to feel that feeling.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, Andy. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, like from a governmental perspective and like a humanist perspective, like it would be good for like the United States of America, for example, if all humans lived to their maximum capacity until the day they died. Like, you know what I mean? Instead of like people just being like, "Oh, I'm sick now, I'm gonna stop trying." It's like, what does that do for us as a human race? Like, it's actually bad for us. Like,
yeah,
there's nothing bad about trying until you die. Try until you die.
right till you die.
I mean, you made that point, Lumiere, which is to try until you cash in your chips, like, right?
Yeah,
Like, I think what we're kind of taught is once you're sick, then you can just lay down and rest and everyone
yeah,
will take care of you.
and it's cultural too. I mean, people, my father's, for example, my mother and father's generation, was that you retire and you just hang out until the batteries stop. Like only recently, like in the last 20, 30 years, have people thought, I'm retired now, I can do what I want. But I think there are generations of people that just retired and they waited for the end to come.
Yeah,
Maybe
the
not
what is your
conscious.
transits never retire.
You're trans. Oh, that's a great
Like
title.
you'll just have a mania. You'll just be retired with a bunch of manias. Like that's retirement's the biggest joke I've ever heard. Like, oh my God.
Your
My
your
mom
transit.
being retired. It's like,
That's your next book. Your transits never retire.
yeah, that's a good shirt, right?
Yeah, your transits never retire.
Yeah. Yeah, because she says cancer has never been the cause of death to the body, but cutting off the life force through fear, anger, blame, or any other negative emotion will do it every time. I mean, we've been learning this in the Course of Miracles, right? Like turn your grievances into happiness. Like, let's
Yeah,
say you're sick and you have a grievance over it, like I'm sick, why me? Like then you're just a moot point, right? Like you've jumped the
right.
shark, right? But if you're just like I'm sick and I'm flying, like that's just different, it's different.
I'm sick and I'm flying. There's the T-shirt too.
We keep making memes.
T-shirts and band name.
So how do you think we can inspire people to not to like adopt this positive mental attitude thing.
Well, I think, well, in her exercise, right? So that first part was like that you think of like, how would I feel if everything was great, instead of sitting there being like, how do I feel everything's awesome? You got to turn it around and be like, all right, if this weren't exactly the circumstance, but there was this better circumstance, how would I feel? And you feel that. And that's the what if part. And then you do the second part, which is the back then part, which is you sit and you try to remember a time that was awesome. Like that was, the best time of your life. And because this went right and that went right, and like, it was so awesome. And you really feel the feeling of back then in this really awesome time, how you felt, and then you try to hold those two together. You try to do something that's in your present circumstances, feeling the awesome feeling. And if you kind of, uh, I think sounds kind of like a mindfulness practice, but like if you just dwell in that awesome feeling that you can really embody and you practice doing that, then it gets easier and easier. What do you think about that?
It makes sense.
Well, so it's like she's holding space of like the future could be awesome, and you remember when things were awesome. Like she just wants you to maintain like life is grand even when things seem hard in the moment or something like that. I mean, I don't see any negative repercussions from that.
No,
I mean, I guess toxic positivity is the only thing, right? Like,
toxic positivity.
yeah.
There's a
Well,
band.
I liked the way that she called it a vortex of thought. You blend those into one feeling tone in a vortex of thought, and you visit that place often.
Yeah. Okay, she says the secret to reversing anything within the body is to get your focus off what you don't want. Find any way you can get into the feeling place of what you do want. Then know with the certainty of the laws of the universe are working and must bring that vision into reality. Okay, so one of the things that happens when people have like cancer, right, is they just start imagining cancer's eating up my body, it's eating up my body,
Right.
right? And they just it's like from a manifestation perspective, that's very, very detrimental to your health because you just see cancer eating up your body, which is what you start manifesting, right? And what she's trying to get you out of is that picture of cancer killing you into like life. And that's what how spirit Christian Science works is we don't focus on the illness. Like when someone's sick, we actually send back to them visions of them whole and healthy. So if one of you guys told me you had a cold, I'd be like, oh, hey, how's it going? Yeah, I wouldn't be like this. I wouldn't be like, oh no, are you okay? Because it would teach you that you're sick and that actually makes you sick. Like, so we learn to do that. And it's, I think that's what this mind trick is for, is like get off the cancer and get off back to life, you know?
Yeah. I mean, all of these sources that we're using are saying, don't look back, look where you want to go. Like, don't think about the cancer because that's the now. Where you want to go is someplace without that. You want to do what you want to do. You want the cancer to go away. You want to live your life really well. So this is the past or the present. And I, I believe what you're saying is true. Just think about what you want. But people will say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. You're bleeding on the ears on my good tablecloth. I'm really sorry."
Well, what do you guys think about people being scared? Because I think when we get diagnosed with illnesses, people get real scared and it shuts down their chakras, right? Like,
Yeah.
is scariness an issue here?
Well, I think scariness must have its root in fear. So, yeah, fear is the opposite of, love and openness. And so that does make sense. And I think that is what she's trying to say with the like, be careful about getting pre-diagnosed with the initial stages of anything and don't believe it.
Yeah.
Like when you get diagnosed with precancerous, but like, oh, I've got precancer today. Ooh, like just be like,
Well, it's
whatever.
only pre. This is just pre. I'm fine. It's just pre.
Well, she's saying that it's not inevitable, that the
Right.
next step is whatever. She does get a bit hyperbolic too when she says that, like, if you have a positive attitude, like if you don't think you're going to get sick, you can drink cyanide for breakfast every day and not even get the hiccups. I'm like, all right, that's going a little too far, lady.
I
Yeah.
think that is too
Go
far.
ahead.
Like for example, when people want to test this, like if let's say I was like, my positive mental attitude will heal anything. I'm not gonna go, like in a tuberculosis bath or something. Like I'm not gonna walk in and like make out with somebody who has tuberculosis just to
Right.
check. Like like we want to like act as if germs are real and then behave as if they're not. You know what I mean? It's like we want to hold both of those, like what is that dialectical thinking where you can hold two things at the same time? Like
Yeah.
germs are real and they're not real. Like
And some kind of balance. I mean, between the two ideas, two thoughts. You know, the laws of the universe are working and must bring that felt vision into reality. So think of, she doesn't ignore the laws of the universe. Of course, then she says, as long as you don't squelch it, which is like your mom telling you you're going to squelch it. Don't squelch it. She's a little blamey, a little blame. Don't squelch it. I have cancer. Oh, you squelch.
that's a cool word because it has a Q in it.
Yeah, it is. It always makes me think of old CB radios, squelch buttons, where you guys were born. So
Yeah, so okay, I have a question here for you guys. What does a mean prognosis do to a person? You know, when they say you have cancer and you only have 6 months to live.
Well, I think that's anchoring bias, right? You know, like that whole study of biases, like, confirmation bias and blah, blah, this bias, that bias. Uh, Anchoring bias then makes you think like, all right, that's around how much time I have to live. Like before somebody said that, you could think that I could live 12 years, I could live 20 years. Of course, I could live only 1 year. But then if they tell you a number, you start anchoring around that number.
yes. However, I think if you're really strong, you could say, fuck that. But you'd have to really feel it. My thing is no. That's what I say to myself. No. Or if I sneeze like 4 times in succession, I feel like it could be the calling card for a cold. Then I think no. But I think if
Well,
they really feel it,
okay, say that you think you're perfectly healthy, right? And then you're thinking like, oh, I'll live 20 more years, no problem. And then you go to the doctor and they say, you have this thing and you're only going to live 1 more year. And then you're like, no way, I'm going to live longer than that. And you live 2 years.
right?
Well, that's way less than the 20 that you would have if they'd have said not said anything, you know?
Well, you guys
Right.
are.
You're thinking of 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't
And
know.
so we just have to keep thinking 20, 20, 20.
Well, this is really controversial because in astrology, there's something called the length of life calculation, which we have a student coming up who really wants to talk about this topic, and it's like really controversial because it's like if an astrologer told you your length of life calculation, which they do, they run around doing this calculation, and then they're like, you're going to live to be 33. It's like talk about anchoring bias. You could be like 20, and then you're
Yeah.
thinking the number 33, and it's like Yeah, with me, I'm like, yeah, no, thanks on that. I'm not gonna let you do the length of life calculation on me because I am going to decide how long I'm gonna live. It's like
Yeah,
I'll be like, I'm going for 93 because it's a matter of planning, right? Like if you think you're gonna live till you're 56, then you're planning for that. And like it's better to plan as if you're gonna live a long time and act as if because
yeah,
you
yeah.
know it's just bigger goals, like it. I don't know. It's interesting. Anchoring bias, that's a new one for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know that one either. Anchoring bias. Um, and it goes back to scripting the life you want, where you have to imagine the life that you want. And so if you're imagining 20 years, you have a better chance of having that than if you're saying three. I mean, and we're talking about illnesses that could creep up on you, but you could say, I want 20 years, and then on the eighth floor, the elevator cable breaks and it's all over.
Yeah, it's better to be surprised by your death, thinking you're going to live till you're 93 or planning for that and just be like, one day, oops, I died, like,
Yeah,
than planning as if it's going to happen tomorrow.
I
right.
guess there's a trick though to like living freely and not miserly so that you're saving to make sure that when you get to that, that towards the end game, you're comfortable. And so there's the balance between like fun and saving for comfort that maybe is a hard calibration. But I don't think it's I don't think it's a
Yeah,
problem in the way, personally that I'm living now. Like I feel like I live happily each day. I don't need too much excessively, and I'm not like scrimping. I actually have a really happy time and happy life, and also am preparing for my long future.
Well, didn't we kind of solve that problem when we said, like, try till you die? Like, if you're 93, you'll still be managing yourself. And even if you're in a nursing home, you'll be managing the world. It's like if you're mega manifesting until the moment you die, it doesn't really matter the day that you die. It's like you're going to keep on working until the day that you go.
yeah, I agree. I mean, um, and think of people that still have something that they want to do. They just keep going. Jimmy Carter is a really good example. The things he wanted to do. He lived to be 100. I'm sure he had a doctor along the way that says, "Oh man, you have inflamed adenoids. You'll never make it past 100." But did make it just well. He didn't make it past 100, but you know what I mean. So he didn't give in to anything. He had an agenda.
Yeah, making people want to live life purpose. One of the reasons I love teleology, which is a study of life purpose, is when you give people a purpose, they're like getting up every day and they're eating well, and they're like, "Oh, I have to eat well so I can be a firefighter, or I have to eat well so I can, whatever they do." Um, I agree that if we give people life purpose until the day they die, like the idea of retirement takes away life purpose in some ways, like time to stop with your purpose. You're
Yeah,
too old for your purpose. Like,
yeah, that's right. Your purpose is done. Here's your check. But I mean, nowadays people are retiring from some job that they have so they can do something else. They can do the thing they really want to do, or they really wanted to do, and they don't treat that retirement as like in my parents' generation, where they just get their pension and they watch daytime TV.
Yeah, I think that was a cultural thing that
Yeah,
you're explaining because I think, and even in our country, there have been, it's a culture of your community too, right? That there have been pockets like that and pockets not like that, right? Like where grandparents take care of the young children and they
right.
have a purpose that's not tied to a job of getting a paycheck, and that I do think a lot of people that I know of that I'm friends with that are retired are I'm quite envious of them because they have a lot of time to do a lot of fun things, and they're always inviting me to do all these things with them during the day. I'm like, I gotta work.
so, well, and that's where, I mean, that's where the whole idea that we could or should be working to our purpose from the time we're young, like we should let people work to their charts from the time they're born. You know, people should be working a job by the time they're 3. Like, come on, whatever your chart is supposed to do, come on, bring that wisdom to us. Like, I don't know, like child labor laws don't even fall under this. Like, I just feel like life purpose could extend the whole gamut of life. But I hear what you guys are saying. Culturally, we don't have that option. Like people are like, get to work, go to your silly job and push some papers around. And so people don't get to live their life purpose until the day they retire, at which case they would start flourishing at retirement and it
Right.
would be great for their health. Well, wait, okay, I don't mean to change the subject, but this sentence is really interesting. It's not the tainted smoke from the cigarettes that kills you, it's the disallowance of life through the lifeline.
Mhm. Yeah, I like that too.
Any thoughts on that one?
What pages? I don't know. I'm going to read it
Page
again.
195. So smoking doesn't kill you, it's the blockage of chi that happens from smoking. Why does smoking block chi?
I don't know. I actually think that all smoking might cause cancer because there's a lot of stuff in cigarettes. But I know people who smoked into their 90s, but they didn't have stress. I think that the stress is really and I have thought for years that that's what people will find. That's the stress is the thing that guides everything else. I don't know why it would block your chi.
Well, and I feel like I agree with you. And just to build on that, it's the cognitive dissonance around smoking that creates the death. It's not the smoking. It's like every time you smoke, people look at you like you're dying, like, oh my God. And it's that Christian Science thing of now I'm dying. I'm smoking, but I'm dying. You know, it's like if you looked at your smoking, teenager and you're like, oh, yeah, you're smoking. Oh, it's so cute. You're smoking. Like it probably would stop causing death. Like, I don't know. I'm not telling you to do that. Remember, we don't want to be dumb, but I'm just because
Now,
scientific research has shown that smoking does kill people. So that the scientific research is what's killing people. No, I don't know.
well, I think part of it is that people don't smoke a pack a week. We obsess about it the same way we do with everything. People give up smoking and they pick up rocks candies instead, and they just pop those all day. So I think when smoking first started, cigarette smoking, um, people would they had cigarette holders with 10 cigarettes in them. And that would last them like 3 or 4 days. They would have a cigarette after dinner, but people obsessed about it as we
Well, I think also companies started
yeah,
putting like bad chemicals in them and intentionally making them addictive, and
yeah,
that contributed to kind of a downward spiral. Plus the vision of yeah, it became a thing that you was associated with like being cool or
right.
like, there was a certain image behind it and the corporations and advertising. Like, I think it's probably a pretty complex subject, that one.
Yeah.
And
I don't think we could sort that out. And they made cigarettes that started burning themselves so that you would put a cigarette down and it would just keep burning. If you buy cigarettes from Europe, like Turkish specials or Gaulois, when you put them down, they go out. So
Wow.
there's all these factors. It's not just our obsession.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think it gets back to what you were saying though, Andy, about the cognitive dissonance around, and that's what she says in the book around like, oh, I know this is bad for me and I'm doing it because I enjoy it, but then those two things come into conflict in your mind, and I think maybe that's the chi killer.
Really, like rarely do people laugh heartily while smoking. They're always like feeling guilty while smoking. You know what I mean? It's like it is a cheat killer, you know. So I think we're at time, but I think we've really done a good job today, and I because it is a complex issue. And she says, laugh more at everything and lighten up, and you'll find health. And I think we can all agree on that, right? Like that
Yes.
being lighter is healthier.
I
So.
think I absolutely agree. I like touch. I shoot for. I get that about once a year.
All right, well, you guys, this little think tank we have every Monday really is brilliant. Like you two are two of the most brilliant minds that I work with, and I just love you so
That's
much.
very sweet. Just
All right.
remember, death is a joke.
What?
That was, she said, death is a joke.
Uh, yeah.
We
Ah,
love being with you too. Well, I'm speaking for both of us, but I'm sure we do. We both love being with you. Are
Oh,
we going on to the next chapter for next week? Your suit of well-being?
yes.
yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
All right. See
All
you
right.
next week.
Bye,
Peace, love,
everybody.
bell bottoms. Bye.